Good morning from Paris. Welcome to this first online info session about the call for URBACT good practices. We are very happy to welcome you here in our studio in the URBACT headquarters. Before we proceed with the agenda of today, don't hesitate to write in the chat where you're connecting from, which city, which country. We are very happy to see Europe well represented here. So make those hellos coming. I hope you have a nice weather in where you're connecting from. In Paris, spring is taking a little longer than usual to arrive, but nevertheless, it's sunny, so not too bad. All right, Poland, Braga, Portugal, Schiedam, Hungary, Germany, Czech Republic, Ostrava, Brno, Spain, Montenegro. Fantastic. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Welcome once again. Before we go to the main points of today, as in to present you a little bit URBACT and primarily the call for good practices, let's get to know you a little bit more. So I would like to ask Jenny Kutsumarku, my colleague here, head of unit of knowledge and communication at URBACT, to launch the first poll. So we would be very curious to know, who are you representing here today? Are you from a city administration, from a metropolitan authority, a municipal agency, maybe from academia, maybe an urban practitioner, national authority, or none of the above? Right, we see that for now, city administrations and municipal agencies seem to be dominating, which is great because, as you will find out, in fact, all of you from city administrations, metropolitan authorities, municipal agencies, but even some boroughs and districts will be eligible for the call for good practices. Great.
So now you can see the results.
Now you can see the results indeed. So city administrations come first and municipal agencies come second, which is pretty much consistent with the URBACT beneficiaries we usually have. All right, so one more question before we truly start with the program. Please let us know, has your administration been already involved in an URBACT network before? Yes or no, as we are curious to know how many newcomers we have in the room today, how many URBACT veterans who still want to come back, which we are always very happy about. All right, we see them coming strong, coming almost equally, yes and no, which is fantastic news because, as mentioned, we are always happy to see URBACT, former URBACT cities coming back, sharing even more knowledge, developing new initiatives, but we also very much want to have newcomers that enrich our URBACT community, that bring both your expertise, but also get the benefits of URBACT networks. So I think we can close the voting. So actually the majority, slight majority, but still majority of you have not been involved in URBACT. So that's great news for us because we want you in URBACT. So please stay with us for the presentation. But those of you who have, fantastic, welcome back, and let's move on. All right. Great. So what we will do today is present you in a nutshell what is URBACT, especially for those who are new to URBACT. But we will focus mostly on the call for good practices. This is a webinar format, so we will ask you to put your questions in the chat. And we will make sure that once there is the question and answer slot, that we will pick them up and answer them live as much as possible. And of course, we also will share further resources where you can find the answers, the terms of reference of the call, contact details, etc. So let's proceed. So as mentioned, after the presentation of the call, we will also have a special guest with us, Theoni Pantelli from the city of Piraeus, from Greece, who will share their successful experience of already being an URBACT good practice, because as you will find out, this is the second time we are launching this call. And at the end, we will share with you the resources I mentioned. So URBACT is a European territorial cooperation program that has been working to support cities from 2002. The objective is to promote sustainable urban development in Europe, and we work in a participatory, integrated way. So right now, URBACT is open to countries from the European Union, but also from Norway, Switzerland, IPA countries, but also Ukraine and Moldova as of this year. In terms of our main activities, we have 3 strands of activities. The highlight is the networks of European cities. When a group of cities forms a project together, a network, they often face a common challenge and they want to develop an integrated action plan to tackle it and implement in their cities. But there are also other types of networks where you will transfer a good practice. We also have activities such as capacity building, which is both to support the cities already involved in networks with organizing events such as URBACT universities and national campus. But we also ensure that we offer some capacity building opportunities to cities not involved yet in networks. So for instance, on our website, you can discover the URBACT toolbox, where you can find a set of tools to support you in your work. We also do knowledge sharing activities. We make sure that all the knowledge developed by cities within the networks does not get lost. We gather it, we package it, we publish it on the Knowledge Hub on our website, but also organize a series of knowledge sharing events, such as EU City Labs, URBACT City Festival. We will talk a little bit about it at the end, and you can also find it on our website. So maybe to just give a little more spotlight on the types of networks. So if you want to find cities who have a similar problem as you, for instance, you want to have more affordable housing in your city, you can form an action planning network where you will be working together for 2.5 years to, together with local stakeholders, co-produce an action plan for your city to be implemented to tackle this challenge. On the other hand, we also have innovation transfer networks. In this case, cities adapt a previously implemented urban innovative actions project and transfer it, adapt it to their needs, and work on an investment plan to make sure that it's implemented in their city. And in fact, we recently in March closed this call, and we are in the assessment process of those proposals that will start in the second part of this year. And now this brings me to transfer networks, which are particularly relevant in the context of good practices, because those networks, cities gather there, share and adapt a successful good practice that has already been implemented in a European city. And those good practices, well, these are the ones we are talking about today. So I would like to hand the floor to Jenny to present the call for good practices.
Yes, hello from my side. I'm Jenny Kutsamarku, Head of Unit for Communication and Knowledge Activities in the URBACT Secretariat. And I'm going to present you the call for good practices. So those of you who didn't have yet the time to go through the terms of reference of the call, now is the chance to have it just in 10 minutes, to have a presentation of 10 minutes of what the call is about, what's included in the terms of reference, and also give you some examples. So what I will ask you to do, while I will be talking, I propose to keep your questions, wait until I'm done with the presentation, and then we will have a specific moment where you can pose your questions, because it is very much likely that I will respond already to the questions that you have. And I can see already in the chat there are some questions about eligibility criteria, so I will respond to them live. All right, so let's start. First of all, why we have launched this call for good practices. So I'm going to give you first a bit of our objectives with this call for good practices, which is now open from 15 April to 30 June. So Alexandra revealed a bit one of the main objectives for launching this call for good practices, which is indeed that the good practices, which will be labeled as URBACT good practices, will also have the chance to lead an URBACT transfer network from 2025 onwards. And this will be some of these selected good practices will be the backbone of the transfer network. So these good practices will be there further shared and also improved thanks to URBACT transfer networks. So this is one of the reasons we want to have this call to identify these already existing good practices across Europe and valorize them, put them forward at the European scene, and also give them visibility, even though some of these good practices will not be transferred through transfer networks, at least they will be valorized at the European level. The European Commission is very much looking for these good practices, to make also the links with their contribution to the European cohesion policy. So this is a very good time for you to put forward, to reflect on your good practices and put them forward through this call. All right, so I will start first with what we are looking for. So we are, as I told you, we are looking for an existing good practice that is happening in your cities and that is impactful. That means that it has brought already, or it's still bringing positive result at local level. It's a practice that it has been developed in a participatory way, or it is implemented in a participatory way. So not only with people from the city administration, but also people from the civil society and other stakeholders from the private sector, for example, that have a stake on this particular practice. It has also to be integrated. This is exactly the point and the mission of URBACT, to promote integrated urban development in Europe. So the list that we are looking for in terms of good practices, that the good practices are integrated. And I'm going to get back to these points afterwards, because they are very much connected with the criteria for the assessment and the selection of the good practices. The good practice has also to be relevant for the European at the European level. So what are the links with the European cohesion policy, sustainable development goals, perhaps the urban agenda for the European Union? So we need to also to make sure that the practices we put forward are relevant and also transferable to other European cities. Okay. Now, for these good practices, who is eligible? Who can come forward and propose these good practices that exist in your cities? This can be actually city administration. When we say cities, municipalities, towns, it's mainly we mean city administrations. It can also be districts. And there was also a question already in the chat about whether districts are eligible to apply to this call, districts from city administrations. Absolutely, yes. City districts, boroughs, but also metropolitan authorities, organized agglomerations, and local agencies, municipal agencies, public or semi-public organizations set by a city. So in a nutshell, these are the eligible institutions that can apply to the call. And all these institutions should come from the 27 European member states, the partner states, also countries benefiting from the instrument for pre-accession to the European Union, so Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Serbia. And the novelty now is also Ukraine and Moldova. Very happy to have these also countries with us in our geographical coverage for the program. So these cities from these countries are also eligible to participate in this call, but also in upcoming calls for networks. What you really should know also is that there's no limitation in terms of population, in terms of size, to apply to this call. So you can be a very small city or a very big one, a capital one. It doesn't matter to apply to this call. Now, in terms of thematic coverage, what we are looking for. This is also a particularity for URBACT as a European Territorial Cooperation Program. We are serving the European cohesion policy and its objectives. There are 5 objectives in the European cohesion policy, but we don't have a specific topic on which we would like you to respond to. So it can be a practice that you have already that touches anything that has to do with sustainable urban development. If it's in the scope of the sustainable urban development, then your practice is eligible. Whatever the topic, the main thematic entry of this good practice that you have. It can be economic development, social inclusion, and its transition, gender equality, anything that has to do with sustainable urban development. Now, I suggest that we focus a bit more on the criteria. So we have 4 criteria for the selection for labelizing the good practices as URBACT, as I told you before. And these criteria are 4, and you will see them also in the online questionnaire that we have prepared for you to submit your good practices. So actually the selection and the assessment will be based on these 4 criteria. And these 4 criteria are equally important and equally weighted. So in terms of assessment and scoring, the assessment panel will consider each criterion on its merit and will attribute up to 25 points per criteria. All right, let's focus a bit more on what we mean by each criterion. So first of all, relevance at European level. So the main thing, and one of the questions that it is in the questionnaire is, how do you think this practice is relevant for other European cities? So I thought you saw also before that URBACT is co-funded by the European Regional Development Fund, the member states of the European Union, the partner states, and also by local contributions. So we are serving and we are part of the EU cohesion policy for 2021-2027. So our objective is also to serve the objectives of the cohesion policy. So we try to make the links with these practices and the cohesion policy, with the sustainable development goals, but also, if possible, also with the topics handled by the urban agenda for the EU. So the frame, it's quite open, quite wide. And I'm sure that if you're dealing with, if you're working on this domain of sustainable urban development, you will find a way to position yourself. Perhaps you have already positioned yourself through the EU cohesion policy because you have benefited from funds from the cohesion policy to implement an integrated territorial investment, for example, through your managing authorities. So if you have so, this is a perfect opportunity to propose also your good practices under this call. But even if you you haven't found your good practice under cohesion policy, still you should be able to apply to this call. Let's move on with the second criterion, which is more about the fit, how participatory, how integrated the practice you propose is. So first of all, what we mean with an integrated approach. This is really the DNA of URBACT. Since 2002, the date where URBACT 1 was created, the main mission, the main objective is really to promote integrated urban development in Europe. So what we mean really with this integrated approach. So we try to define it as horizontal integration, so bringing together at the same time, tackling at the same time different policy areas, and especially the economic, the social and environmental dimensions at the same time. So even if a good practice has a specific thematic entry, let's say on climate or on an environmental dimension, then it can also tackle, it is of interest, and we help as URBACT cities to tackle these challenges, these environmental challenges, for example, by taking also into consideration what are the economic and social dimensions or stakes that are relevant to this specific thematic entry. So this is the horizontal integration, but then also we, as much as possible, would like also to have a vertical integration, which is that these good practices are also developed or implemented not only at local level, but also through a multi-level dialogue with the regional and national authorities when relevant. And also for this, we would like to see whether what is the evidence of a participatory approach in the project development and implementation. Who are the stakeholders that are involved in the implementation or in the development of this practice? And also, we would also like to know whether this practice addresses gender equality or digital transition or even the green transition. So these are some kind of questions that you will see in the online form. I will move on now with the impact at local level. Of course, I mean, when we're saying that we're looking for good practices, these good practices should already exist and should actually have a positive impact. It is needless to say, but I'm still saying it, that the positive part here is very important. And to be sure that there is a positive impact, we would also like to know, to hear from you through your applications, what was the added value that this practice brought as soon as you put it in place. What needs or problems were addressed by the practice, what results were achieved, what was the scope, the geographic scope of the people who benefited from the practice? Is it citywide, or is it a specific urban area in the city? And for this, we would like also to have some evidence, whether you have a study that you carried out, an evaluation, external evaluation, or even internal one, but just something that proves that there has been a positive impact. And then the fourth criterion is the potential for transfer to other cities. Of course, this is again the main core business of URBACT. We are a territorial cooperation program. Our main mission is to bring cities together and help them with designing and developing and implementing sustainable integrated local policies. So this part of transferability is crucial, because we want to put forward cities that have whose practice can be easily transferable to other cities, either through transfer networks or through other knowledge activities that we may organize, like EU City Labs and other events like URBACT City Festivals, for example. So some events that will also allow inspiration to other cities and potential for transfer. So we need to know whether these good practices are quite universally transferable to other cities, and their conditions are not very much related to specific circumstances at local level. All right, so this is in a nutshell the presentation of the criteria for the selection of the good practices. I'm going now to go into more details about the timeline. So the timeline of the call. So you know that this call is open, and it will be open until 30th of June. And what happens from 1st July to October, where we will have the selection of good practices. The ones that will be awarded as URBACT good practices. So during summer, no vacation for us. So we are going to deep dive into the assessment of the submitted applications with an assessment panel that will be mainly composed of experts that will be the ones mainly evaluating the practices. And also the assessment panel may also be composed by members of the URBACT Secretariat, members of the Monitoring Committee of the URBACT program, and also cities that have not participated in the call. So this will be done from July to October, and in October we will be able to really select the good practices and announce it to the wider world. And then after that, we will start from October onwards, we will start a series of communication and visibility activities for the URBACT good practices, out of which will be the URBACT City Festival in Wrocław from 8 to 10 April 2025. This is a huge milestone for all the selected URBACT good practices, because it is there where you will be able to really present to hundreds of people coming across Europe to present your good practices, mingle, network also with other practices, and taste a variety of good practices happening in Europe. Because also we have the tendency of focalizing on the negative aspects, what's going wrong in our cities, how we can improve ourselves, and sometimes we forget what's working actually. So the festival will be this big positive event that will bring this what works well in Europe, what works well in our cities, and also share the pride of being in one of these cities that actually were doing good things. So note the date, because especially the ones that will be selected, the URBACT good practices, at least one person from these cities will be covered by the URBACT program to participate in the URBACT City Festival. And what's also very important to say is that from April to June, we will launch the call for URBACT transfer networks. And the festival is a key event also for this call, because we will present for the first time at European scale the terms of reference of the call for URBACT transfer networks. And the City Festival will be the occasion for the good practices and for the participants to come together and network, discuss about their possibility of forming proposals for the call for URBACT transfer networks. It will be a very matchmaking event, actually, also in favor of the shaping of the URBACT transfer networks. So it's a not to miss event. We have also organized a similar event back in 2017 with a great success. And we hope that we will see you all there, all of you joining us today. And then from July again until from July, in July we will have again an assessment of the submitted applications for the URBACT transfer networks. And from September, we would have the start of the URBACT transfer networks that will last 2 years or 2 years and a half. The details of the terms of reference of the URBACT transfer networks are yet to be designed and approved by the URBACT Monitoring Committee. So today we're not going to go through the details of the URBACT transfer networks, but we have saved for you a specific date in June, and we will have a specific guest from the Secretariat to come and speak, to give you a taste of what an URBACT transfer network is about. All right, so few last words, then I'm done. About the submission procedure, how you submit your good practice is very easy. You just go on the Get Involved page, and you see you will find the link to go to an online questionnaire that you will have to respond in English by 30 June at 2 o'clock Central European Time. And a city, very important, a city can submit more than one proposal for as a good practice. And I have 3 more slides and then I'm done. Just I want to give you a taste of what happened back in 2017, because as Alexandra told you, this is the second time we launch a call for good practices. So the first time we did that was from December 2016 to March 2017. And at that time, it was quite a pioneering call at that time, gathering good practices. We received 270 applications, out of which 264 were eligible, and out of which we awarded 97 URBACT good practices from 25 European countries. And just 23 of them were then transferred to 182 European cities through URBACT transfer networks. From 2018 to 2022. And this is actually what's very important with this logic of good practices and transfer networks. Since we know that there are existing good practices happening in Europe, why not share them? Why don't we spin off their effects and their impacts to also other European cities instead of always reinventing the wheel? It saves money, it saves energy, it saves time. So these are just a few benefits of the URBACT transfer networks, and we will look forward to spreading your good practices also to other European cities as much as possible. At that time, yet in 2017, I just show you out of interest of the number of URBACT good practices we validated per country at that time. So you have a taste of it. I think we can do much better. There are countries that can perform much better. I'm sure you have all very good practices in your countries. And in terms, just also out of curiosity, if you're curious, what was the thematic coverage of the 97 URBACT good practices back in 2017? You have here also the list. At that time, we had clustered them under the policy objectives of the cohesion policy of 2014-2020. So here are the topics you see are the thematic objectives of the previous programming period. So but this shouldn't influence you that you should change if you see that the topic of your practice doesn't fit in one of these. It shouldn't influence you not to apply, right? All right, and since I just talked to you about the previous experience, now is the time to hear a good practice that was validated back in 2017, and it's a good practice that happened in Piraeus, a very big city also in Greece. I'm sure all of you know, and I'm going to hand it over now to Alexandra to present Theoni.
Hello again. So indeed, I would like to welcome Theoni Panteli, the head of Department of Entrepreneurship and Blue Growth in the municipality of Piraeus, who will share the inspiring story of the Blue Growth practice from Piraeus with you. Great, we can see Theoni, fantastic.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. So could you tell us what the good practice of Piraeus is about, and how did it meet the good practice criteria of being participatory, impactful, integrated, relevant for the EU, etc.?
Okay. First of all, I want to say that it's an honor to me to share my experience about the good practice. And also I want to say that it's only the good of the URBACT that do us for this good practice, so that not only in Europe, but also international level. So specifically about the impactful status of our good practice, I want to say that what was the point is to promote all these environmental friendly practices and technologies and innovation in our city, and involving citizens. Actually, the ones that have a force to show their ideas, because first of all, I want to say that our good practice, it is a innovation competition upon a blue economy. This is a chance for young people to show their entrepreneurship ideas about blue economy and share to all the society, and not to just in academic organizations, but to be open to society, the businesses and other government agencies that are needed to hear from them their ideas. So the local leaders, that is the role of municipality, are with open ears, that we say here in Greece, that to hear the ideas and have and impact from young people, especially. What is essential is that they decreate approaches, because this competition is about this economic growth, but not also only this, and has to do with social impact, because it's young people that do it, but not young that is only in our city, but is more open from different cities from Greece, especially because it's different and difficult to have business ideas from all over the world, but in the international level. But actually, from other cities, it's very. It was very participatory because it has to do with sea, and have this sustainable approach, that it's very very important, not only from Greece, but it has to do with all the Europe, and how this the problem about climate change, and actually how the European Green Deal and digital transformation can help to tackle with all, especially in Greece, that we have a very needed, because we live from the sea. All this it was a good chance to be transferable to the other European cities, that has to do with sea, actually that has coastal or maritime economies. But actually, I want to say that it was a good practice for river coastal cities, because also had a very good we had partners from cities that have only rivers and not just sea. Actually, it was very different how they actually see it, but was inspired. We had inspiration from them also.
Interesting to know, indeed, the rivers. Yeah, the river city. Wow. All right. Fantastic that it was so easily transferable to indeed not only sea-based cities, let's say, but indeed the river cities too. That's indeed the versatility of the transfer potential.
Yes.
So if I could ask you now, Theoni, if you could tell us what were the benefits for Piraeus to become labeled as an URBACT good practice?
Only good has a city from a call like you because URBACT was very supportive, support the city on the good practice that was known. Actually, yes, it was easy to be known and recognition from other European programs. And actually, not only European, because also we participate in a URC program, that network that is international aspect. So it's not only Europe, it was also outside Europe. We had we gained also the trust from other stakeholders, not only locally, but also in national level. About local stakeholders, we get more close impact. This is true. And also we had all investors from other places that want to actually act in our city in Piraeus regarding blue economy, or to take knowledge from all this in here in Piraeus. Also, I want to mention the Sustainable Opportunities Network. We have not only blue economy, how good practice others can have in our city, and to gain all this knowledge from other good practices, and how can be integrated in the holistic urban development of a city. This is also essential. And actually, the other good is the capacity building for our city. All of us that will be involved, local authorities, employees, and all this, how can we evaluating and make better for our city strategies. And also funding that, yes, it's very essential to have plus budget to do more things in our city, and how this good practice can be tested in different circumstances, so that you can test your good practice. This good practice was budget for hiring experts and to create a good team in order to do it.
Thank you for mentioning that, because this brings us, I think, to the transfer experience that you had as Piraeus, because you were the lead partner of not only one, but actually two transfer networks, showing the success and popularity of the good practice. So could you tell us indeed a little bit more about the transfer network experience of BlueAct? What did it help you also to enrich your good practice? What added value did it bring for Piraeus?
Yes, as I said before, is that was the rethinking of the design, the implementation of the good practice of competition regarding blue economy, and how these new insights help us to continue this good practice not only to continue, to also to improve it with new elements. Okay. What we see is that we could do innovation in different stages with pupils, with startups, with also different categories that they can cooperate, competition each other. And also there's different lessons from different cities that more had more experience, and others that did have no experience. And the innovation, the collaboration we on common field had also more strength only for all of us about this field of blue economy. As I said, because this is one to mention, and all this was not a static status, it was an ongoing procedure. This is also important. As our this relationship with URBACT is an ongoing relationship.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for sharing this inspiring story. And please stay with us still for a little bit more, just in case there are any questions to your particular experience with Piraeus. As for the rest, if you're curious about both the Blue Growth Piraeus, you can find it in the database on urbact.eu/good practices. My colleague shared it in the chat. And you can also discover other good practices there. So then, Jenny, hearing this testimony, why cities should apply?
Yeah, so actually this was not in the beginning of my presentation, because we wanted first for you to understand what a good practice is about, and also having Theoni to share with you a real experience from the bottom up, from the local level, rather than me telling you why you should apply. Theoni says that's only good you can get out of this call, and especially if you are selected as URBACT Good Practice, we will focus on the visibility and the communication activities that you will benefit from in the second info session that we will organize almost in a month in May. As I told you, the City Festival in Wrocław, 8 to 10 April, save the date, because this will be one of the main highlights of your professional experience too, I think, because it's a very rich and beautiful event. And also, as Theoni told you, you will also get the chance, you are not obliged to transfer your practice to other cities, but you can get this chance to do it. If you are interested, you can lead an URBACT transfer network, as Piraeus did, and you can further improve your good practice, as Theoni told you. You can benefit from expertise support, from inspiration and other good practices from your partner cities. And also you can benefit from budget also, and you can hire extra people to help you with leading this URBACT transfer network, and also further improve your good practice. So now the time is for your questions. If you haven't yet got a response to your questions, ourselves and also Theoni is here to respond.
So yes, perhaps we have got already a few questions in the chat, but please keep them coming. That's the time for you. So maybe starting with eligibility criteria. There was a question: is a village eligible to submit a good practice? Since we say there's no size limit.
Okay, I mean, this really depends on the administrative capacity and competence of what you call a village. But for this kind of, if you have a doubt about the eligibility of your institution, then send us a direct mail to goodpractices@urbact.eu email address, and then we can further investigate whether this corresponds under the city category. And this we always double check it with the members of the monitoring committee of the URBACT program, which are representatives of national ministries. So I don't know where this question comes from which country, but
From Hungary.
from Hungary. All right. So in that case, send us over an email, and we will double check it with our Hungarian ministry that's in charge of these questions.
There's also a fantastic question about the eligibility of EU overseas territories. Is it possible to join with the best practice from the island Bonaire, located in the Caribbean? Bonaire is a Dutch overseas country and territory. So is it possible?
Of course it's possible.
Fantastic.
Of course, fantastic. We will be more than happy. We used to have in an URBACT network, or two URBACT networks in the past, we used to have islands from overseas that were French islands from overseas. So we will be more than happy to welcome more of them, as many of them in the pool of good practices, and hopefully afterwards in URBACT networks. Absolutely, you're eligible.
There is also a question in terms of eligibility. If in case we are applying as a public company, the person authorizing the good practice proposal must be a representative of the public company or the municipality. For instance, so does it have to be an elected representative? Who can authorize the submission?
I mean, it could be from the institution itself. It can be, since you have the capacity for implementing this good practice, and it's something that you mainly carry or bear, then it's up to you, somebody from the hierarchy of this public institution to authorize the submitted practice. Yeah.
All right. And now in terms of the city festival, so you mentioned that URBACT could refund for the participation to the festival for one representative per good practice city. That's correct?
That's correct. That's what we did in the past too. So in the past, we, as you know, we had 97 good practices labeled as URBACT good practices, and all of them were present in the URBACT City Festival. So you can imagine we needed a huge space to accommodate all these good practices, plus the participants. And the idea is having a big marketplace of good practices across Europe. So you can have a taste of them within 2 days of event of different activities.
Great, thank you, Jenny. And now there's a question about funding, which of course is always a very relevant question for cities. So what does URBACT fund when a city applies to the best practice call? Indeed, the travel to Wrocław, do we fund the development of communication tools? And when a city submits the transfer of a good practice application, can staff time to develop the bid be funded?
All right. So for this call, in terms of budget, there is no specific budget that will be allocated or to the awarded URBACT good practices. But there will be some compensations or refunds that can be made for the representatives of the URBACT good practices when we invite them to present their good practice to international and European events. And there will be opportunities for that. Not only there will be the URBACT City Festival, for which we will cover your expenses as URBACT good practices, but there will be also other events. Perhaps also we can have a session at the World Urban Forum in Cairo, or other European events that will be organized by the European Commission, the EU Cities Forum too in 2025. This will be also a good opportunity to present your good practices also at more political level. So there will be this kind of events where we can cover your travel and accommodation costs. Then the most important budgetary implication will come if you decide to lead an URBACT transfer network. And as a lead partner, and Theoni also can testimony, you will receive a budget that you will have to manage also for you and your partners. And you will get as a lead partner a significant amount of money for your own management, communication, and local expertise activities. So it will, and also through this budget that you will have for the transfer networks, you will also be able to hire also some people within the city administration to help you manage the network, but also to help you improve your good practice. So it is then mainly that you will receive more budget.
All right, thank you very much, Jenny. And maybe last question. No, you know what? Actually, I will keep the questions about the transfer networks for our info session in June, because we have an info session on the 20th of June that will be dedicated to the transfer networks. So there you can ask all the questions about funding and eligibility for transfer networks. Let's still find out how actually we can submit a good practice proposal. Is it like a super complicated form, or is it easygoing this time? Tell us, please.
It is actually perhaps one of the easiest application forms you've ever seen. If you had the chance to go and look at the survey, it's an EU survey. You can see all the questions already online. You have also the limit of characters, and actually what we recommend is that you just take the time before you submit your responses to do this in a Word document. You have also the annex of the questions on the Get Involved page. So you just prepare this offline, and then you just copy paste them online, and you submit the application. It's one of the easiest applications.
All right, that's good news. No applications through complicated systems this time, just in the EU survey form. So that should be easy enough. Perhaps we can just proceed to tell you about where you can find all the useful resources. So would you like to highlight everything?
Everything is on the website urbact.eu. Get involved. You can also, if you are interested to knowing a bit more about the good practice from Piraeus, you can go or you can see the link with the database of the good practices, and you will see not only Piraeus but all the other selected good practices that are available, and you can see what they have put in under these 4 criteria I presented you before. And you can also go and visit the web pages of the URBACT transfer networks, including URBACT, since we have Theoni here. You can find more about the URBACT network. So in terms of what comes next, the closest milestones are the next info session, which will be still online, 23 of May from 10 o'clock. And here we will focus more on the visibility and communication activities, including the URBACT City Festival, focus more on this. And then 20 June, we will discuss what happens next. Once you have submitted your application, let's talk a bit more about the call for transfer networks. We will get a taste from our colleague, Clémentine Gravier, Head of Unit for Networking and Capacity Building Activities in the URBACT Secretariat, who will give us a taste, an appetizer of what the transfer networks will be about. And of course, you can contact us if you have any questions about eligibility or any other questions at goodpractices@urbact.eu. Again, a reminder of the timeline and not to miss the deadline of 30 June. And before you go,
indeed, we would be very curious to know how motivated do you feel to apply with your good practice. So please let us know, are you already decided that you're applying? Perhaps you're still thinking, you need to check with your team. And no, it's not an option, really, or is it?
So also just perhaps to say something about this, because in the questionnaire, there is a question whether you're interested in transferring your good practice. And here you can say yes, not sure yet, or no. This, you can respond however you like, and just to be mindful that if your good practice is awarded as URBACT good practice, we will then contact you in any case to explain to you what it means to be leading an URBACT good practice. So we will have a specific session with you as URBACT good practices, and then you can take a final decision afterwards. So here, it's just an indication for us to know whether you would be interested to transfer this. Without you, don't be afraid that this will be binding and you cannot escape from it. So you can always change your mind, and we will really explain you what this entails from October onwards, as soon as we have the validated practices.
All right, so it's great to see that the majority of you are planning to apply, and actually a majority, and the rest of you is considering it. So that's a very, very good sign. So we would really like to thank you for your participation. Also in terms of information on the urbact.eu Get Involved page, besides finding all the documents, you will also find the recording and slides from the session today. So probably by the end of the day or by tomorrow, you will be able to find it. So I would like to thank so much to Feoni Pantelli. Thank you so much for your contribution and for the inspiration Piraeus keeps bringing to URBACT.
We think the best for all.
Yes, thank you so much. We indeed thank you to Jenny, and thank you to, most importantly, to you, all the participants today. We really hope you become URBACT good practice cities very, very soon. So don't miss the next info sessions. Make sure to go to urbact.eu, get involved to find all the information. And well, see you at the next info session in May. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.